So you took economics, personal finance, or some other form of business class in high school, and now you think you want a business degree. Well, here's what you should know before you try that. So I went to a public university for business administration, and I got that in about 3 years. I had a couple transfer credits, but not too much, not, some crazy AP classes or anything like some other people in high school. So here's the general gist you have to get. A business degree is for managers, not for entrepreneurs. You have to be able to understand this difference. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck doing something that is completely useless to you in the future. So here's basically what you need to know. There's a whole list of positives, and there's a whole list of negatives that go with business degrees. So here are the top 3 positives and the top 4 or 5 negatives. So in a business degree, you're actually taught a lot of business fundamentals, and that can be really helpful if you don't have a whole lot of direction. So a lot of people that might have like a crazy good idea for some sort of business, or they have friends that have a cool idea and they want to get into the business side. Now, a business degree might actually help you in the first couple years. Like, let's say your freshman and sophomore year, and maybe your junior year. Those things are going to help you a lot in understanding fundamentals of business, understanding some economics, and some personal finance. But outside of that, it might not be exactly what you think it is. Some of those base fundamentals can actually help you take a business up from making $0 to making, 10K, 100K a year. You never really know. It depends on how good the idea is. But these business fundamentals are only giving you a baseline structure of understanding in business. And they're not actually going to teach you where to find these things, or where to find a manufacturer, or how to understand advertising or anything like that. It's just going to teach you, here's what a business is, here's how you manage employees, here's how you find employees. And when I'm running a business, these are the fundamental aspects that you have to take care of. Outside of that, it's not actually teaching you how to make money or how to run a business or anything like that. Those fundamental teachings are just teaching you what you don't know, not how to actually do them. Here's another one of the major positives of going to school for a business degree, or going to school in general. You gain a ton of networking experience, a ton of friendships, a whole, college experience, right? But that isn't always something that's useful. It can become useful if you're really very intentional about it, but if you're not, it's probably not going to get you as far as you think it is. If you're pursuing a business degree or a degree in general in college, but you want to go into business and entrepreneurship afterwards, one of the best things you can do for networking is to actually be very dedicated in it. Go out and meet people, go out and talk to people all the time, and just get to know people. It doesn't have to be like you're trying to sell them on some sort of business idea or anything crazy like that. Just basically going out and meeting people, making some friends in college. You never really know who's going to go into what field or what they're going to do in the future. People can go to school for nursing and end up being an influencer, or people can go to school for engineering and end up being the next Elon Musk. Like, this is why you have to network in college. But it doesn't mean networking in a sense like, here's my business idea, and what kind of business ideas do you have? Like, people aren't interested in that. They don't really care. So here is, I think, one of the bigger concepts that is a positive with going to college, and especially in a business degree. You get to meet a lot of people with similar interests that you wouldn't have known in high school or your normal life before college. This can mean if you weren't meeting anybody that was like super interested in business or entrepreneurship or whatever you're interested in, let's say you're interested in video games or you're interested in tech or something like that, you meet a lot of people that have similar interests to you, especially if you go out and talk to people and like actually meet people. But that's one of the major positives, is that you actually get the ability to go out and find people that relate to you a lot and make friends that way. And a lot of those times, those people can be people that end up starting a business with you or starting their own business. and then you can network and partner with them or whatever. But it's just really interesting. That's one of the major components that I think is like really beneficial for college. And of course, the college experience is the major selling point of college in general. I think for people going into a business degree, a lot of the times people are interested in business and entrepreneurship, or anything finance or personal finance related. But a lot of the time you're 16, 17, 18 years old and you don't really know what you're doing yet. So I think that's where you gain a lot of life experience and a lot of social experience by going out in college and just meeting other people and just going to talk and going to parties if you want. You don't have to, but just meeting people in classes and meeting people that might have similarities to you. This is something that you can get in the real world, but it's a whole lot harder to do that in the workplace because, if you're somebody who's 18 and you're skipping college and you're going straight into the workforce, those people are like 40 or like 35 or something. Like, you can relate to them maybe, but not in the exact same way you would relate to somebody your own age, right? And so they're going to have different inputs and different lifestyles. They can't relate to you in the same way, and they can't also give you advice in the same way that they would somebody their own age. So you can't just say like, oh, just start a business or something to somebody who's like 18. They don't understand what that means. But if you said that to somebody who's like 30 and had experience in starting a business or being an entrepreneur, then 100% they would understand what actionable steps to take. But somebody who's 18 doesn't. So that's why meeting those people and networking with those people is good, but it's not really serving you the greatest function. So here is my major negative when it comes to going to business school, especially business school, as opposed to any other degree, because there's a lot of value in schooling, especially in basically every other degree, like nursing, engineering, etc., where you need certifications. But in business, this is one where you almost specifically don't need the degree, because the jobs you get out of school are just going to be either a certification that you can get in like 6 months being sponsored by your employer, or something like marketing where you don't even need a degree. You don't need really a whole lot of experience. You just kind of shadow under somebody for a little bit and that's all you need. I might have to leave. So if it's dark out here when I get back, it didn't take me 4 hours to record this, I promise. So the biggest negative for going to school for a business degree in particular is because it's not for entrepreneurship. It's not for starting a business. It's not for, going out on your own and doing something innovative. It's for making managers for corporations. And it's like a conveyor belt to get somebody into the corporate ladder. And it's not really something that most business students would be interested in, because they're not going to business school just to be a manager for the rest of their life. I mean, it's perfectly fine if you do, but most people that go to business school are looking to be an entrepreneur, or they're looking to start their own business. The second major negative is that it doesn't actually teach you any actionable steps to start a business. You can go in to a business degree and get a whole bunch of fundamental knowledge. It's great, fantastic, but it doesn't help you at all. They're not going to lay out a blueprint, actionable steps plan with a long-term goal. They're not going to give you any of that. They're just going to give you this theoretical knowledge that you could have just learned from a hands-on approach through your own anecdotal experience. You don't have to learn it through somebody's textbook telling you this, because most of the time you're not even going to remember that stuff. And if you do, it's probably 15 years outdated. So it is extremely, extremely expensive to get a business degree, and you don't need it. I've seen a whole bunch of different statistics around this topic from a whole bunch of different sources. People assume that between upper 30s to about 50% of the overall workforce is underemployed or unemployed. And that means basically you don't need a degree for the job that you're doing. You could go to school and get a PhD and come out and work at McDonald's. That's underemployed, right? You could get a degree in business and go and work for a marketing firm that doesn't even look at your degree, and that's underemployed. Because although it's a professional job, you don't need a degree for it. Even though they told you, day in, day out, you need a degree, you need this, you need that, you need a certification. You don't actually need that. There are many fields where you do need a certification, like financial planning. You need a certification because you're managing other people's money. But for marketing, you don't. And, you know, I may be wrong about that in some fields. Feel free to leave that in the comments if I'm wrong about that and you need a certification for some form of marketing. But by all means, I don't know of it right now. I don't know if you know this, but the business degree in general, a business administration degree or any other form of business degree, is by far the largest degree that people pursue. It is the most common. Everybody goes to school for business. You've seen all the memes and stuff about business students being dumb and whatever. It's not always true. But basically somewhere in the realm of like 400,000 business degrees are issued every year. That's how many people are going for a business degree. And I'm just assuming here, but I imagine that a ton of those people end up underemployed. And here's the biggest component is if you want to be an entrepreneur or you want to be somebody who owns their own business, runs, you know, whatever firm, an ad agency, etc. Anything like that people are talking about all over YouTube these days, you don't need a degree. Only about 17% of entrepreneurs have a bachelor's degree in general, which is not just business. That is like people who have engineering degrees and start an engineering firm, people that have a doctorate and end up opening their own practice. That is all under that overarching umbrella. So if only 17% of entrepreneurs have their own degree, then you can assume that a very small amount of those people actually have a business degree. There's tons of jobs that don't actually need a degree, don't even check that you have a degree. Think of marketing, advertising, you know, being a manager, working at Starbucks, you know, etc. And anything like that where you can work up the chain, you don't need a degree. This is the crazy concept that people are pushing, this idea that you can't get a job if you don't have a degree. And that's entirely not true. Have you seen people that go and teach at college campuses that are extremely great, incredible entrepreneurs, people that have done crazy things in their careers, and they go and teach at, you know, Harvard or whatever crazy school? These people don't have degrees. Some of them do, but they don't always have them. And so when you go to teach, which is widely considered one of the jobs that you need a degree for, you don't actually need a degree if you have a great career that is your basis for it. Experience does equate to degrees. At which point it does that, I can't tell you that 100%, but it does equate eventually. And so you need to be able to understand that a lot of the things that you think you need, you don't actually need. So I'll leave it up to you on this. You know, I got my degree, and I think the bachelor's degree was fantastic. But when I went to graduate school, all they were trying to do is feed me into the corporate structure. And I don't know about you, but I don't really personally want to work 100 hours a week for next to minimum wage just to make six figures and work that for the rest of my life. That seems like a complete waste of time to me. That's just a concept that you have to decide. Do you really want the degree? Do you need the degree for what you want to do? And is it actually serving you? Or do you want to start a business, but maybe right now isn't the time? And so you want to go to school, maybe for a business degree. It'll help you a little bit in your studies. And then once you're ready, you either drop out or you finish your degree and you work on the business on the side. Now that is probably the best option if you're not ready for it right now. I would recommend school to people that, you know, you're 17, 18, you just graduate high school and you have no idea what to do. Definitely go to school. But you have to keep in mind, it costs a lot of money. So you're going to go into debt for it. So you need to be able to understand your personal finances in that sense as well. So if you like this video, you learned anything, or if it gave you any insight with your college decision or your degree decision, subscribe. Press the notification bell, and if you like this video, leave a like. And if you went to business school and you think it was the greatest thing ever, leave it in the comments. But if I missed anything in this video, for sure leave it in the comments. If you have any video recommendations that you might be interested in seeing, I'm interested in doing a whole array of different video topics, but it's probably going to be once a week for now. We might up it in a little bit. But if you're new here, this is the first video. So subscribe, and I'll be responding to every single comment until I run out of time for the rest of my life. So I'll see you next week.
I think I should start